All right, thanks everyone for being here this morning, and before I forget, I want to wish everyone a very happy Thanksgiving and happy holidays to you and your families. So before we get started with anything else, we need a roll call. Melissa.
Yay, so we'll call the meeting to order at 9:33. Thank you, Chair North. All right, so BJ North.
Present.
Nancy McCormick.
Present.
Robert Chisel.
Present.
Eric Brown. Milton Stewart.
Here.
Edward Estepona.
Here.
Lisa Brown.
Here.
Craig Meadows.
Here.
And Yanni Snelson. Awesome, we have quorum, Chair. Thank you so much.
Great, thank you everyone. And also I just want to say thank you for allowing us to move the meeting back a half an hour. It was very helpful as we had a meeting that ran until 9 that we had to be at earlier today, another board meeting. We spend our lives in board meetings. So before we go any further, we need to read public comment. Public comments will be taken during this agenda item. No action may be taken on a matter raised upon these items until the matter is included on an agenda as an item of which action may be taken. Comments will be limited to 2 minutes per person. Persons making comments will be asked to begin by stating their name for the record and to spell their last name. The council chair may elect to allow additional public comment on a specific agenda item when that agenda item is being considered. Is there any public comment? There being none, we will move forward with the program. First of all, it gives me great pleasure to introduce a new member to the meeting, Todd Thurston, and he is joining us for the first time today. Todd, would you introduce yourself and tell us about you and your company and what you're doing?
Absolutely. It's actually my second time.
Oh, is it?
You happen to be gone,
I
BJ.
was I gone?
Yes.
Yes. Oh, well, you're the first time for me.
So Todd Thurston, I'm leading our community and workforce development programs and managing our Plum location here in Reno. I've been with Panasonic Energy for just over 6 years, working with talent development and the workforce development and culture parts of our company for that time. We've put together the AMTC over at Plum Lane, our partnership with TMCC. It's going well, and we appreciate the opportunity to partner together. It's a beautiful location. It's being utilized well. We're working on programs and opportunities to utilize it more with Panasonic and TMCC. And I look forward to being a part of this council.
Well, we're very excited to have you, even though this is your second meeting. Welcome again. Okay, our next item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes. I hope that everyone has had the opportunity to read the minutes, go over the minutes. Are there any additions or changes to the minutes for the record? Edward? No? You look like you had something, so I was going to hop on it.
Oh,
You're all good? You're all good. All right. Anyone else?
Good.
Okay. Yes. Could I have a motion then to approve the minutes?
Nancy
move.
Okay, I'll second the motion by Mr. Estepona.
Mr. Estepona is first, and Nancy McCormick is a second. All in favor of approving the minutes as presented, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? There being none, minutes are approved and submitted to the record. We also are going to have the Deputy Superintendent of Washoe County Schools, Tiffany McMaster. Is she just welcoming her?
Yeah,
We have
yeah,
to.
an approval.
We have to have an approval.
And we would need 2 separate votes, one for Tiffany and one for Todd, just so I can separate them.
Oh, okay. All right, so we're going to do this twice. Ready,
Right.
everybody?
Right.
Okay. So Tiffany joins us as the Deputy Superintendent with Washoe County School District, and we're really delighted to have you join us. As you know, Washoe County School District is a very important partner for TMCC and it's very important that we have representation from the school board or from the school district so that we can share with them some of the ideas that we see in the community that relate to K through 12, but also that progression and transition for them to join the fabulous TMCC family and expand and enhance their educational experience. So Tiffany, would you like to just say a couple of words so that they get to know you, and then we will vote on you?
Sure, absolutely. Thank you so much for the warm welcome, Tiffany McMaster, new Deputy Superintendent to Washoe County School District over the summer, so happy to be here. I've been with Washoe County School District for 26 years, started my career as a teacher. My most recent principal position was at the Academy of Arts, Careers, and Technology, which is on Edison Way, so I had a great partnership with TMCC with vertically articulated credit, and many students there took advantage of dual enrollment credits with you as well. So that's always been a great partnership. Personally, I just want to say thank you to Truckee Meadows Community College because both of my children have benefited from this institution. My daughter took a lot of dual credit classes while she was still in high school. My son just graduated in 2024 with his associate's degree. So both personally and professionally, I just absolutely am thrilled to be on this panel and appreciate everything that you do for our community.
We're thrilled to have you. May I have a motion, please, to approve Tiffany to the board, or the council, sorry.
Ed Westphal for the record, so move.
Do I have a
Nancy
second?
McCormick for the record, second.
Any comments? There being none, will all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? There being none, Tiffany, we're excited to have you as a member of the IAC and look forward to your input in council. Thank you. Our next item on the agenda is to officially approve Todd Thurston, Senior Manager and Community and Workforce Development, Panasonic. We heard from him a few minutes earlier. So do I have a motion to approve him for a membership of IAC?
Milt Stewart, so moved.
Have a first on, did you get that, Milt? Okay, do I have a second?
Nancy McCormick.
Nancy's my second all day today, all right. I have a first and a second. Any comments? There being none, we'll call for the vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
There being, any opposed? There being none, motion carries. Welcome again, Todd, to the
Very much.
IAC. We're very excited. And, you know, I drove by the new building and saw that big sign of TMCC. I was very excited about
It's
that.
interesting, I often tell people to look for the TMCC sign.
Yeah, it's very bold and big. Love that. All right, thank you so much. Okay, the next item on the agenda is to approve the meeting dates for 2025. Wow, can you believe it's 2025 already?
No, and I did just share with you, I did send them out preemptively to the committee to see if there were any glaring issues. There's one I know one person can't make because of the trip, but other than that, I got no feedback, so I think we're okay with these.
Okay, well, things change during life, so if something comes up, we really would like to be able to work with everyone
So these are tentative, but we're trying to do these dates.
to get everybody on the calendar.
Yeah.
Okay, so February 27th, April 10th, October 23rd, and December 11th. So everybody have those. Okay, I will need to have a motion.
Nancy McCormick for the record. I move to approve the 2025 meeting dates as stated in our agenda.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Robert Chisel, second.
All right, Robert, you jumped right in there. Thank you. Any questions? There being none, we'll move to for the vote. All those in favor, please designate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? There being none, motion carries. The dates will be hopefully placed on your calendar.
Yes, I promise.
Okay.
Moving right along, you know, part of the fun of being the chair of IAC is that and being a member of the IAC is that we get to hear a president's update and find out what's really happening at the college. So take it away.
Oh, and there is so much. So I'll try to be brief, but I'll admit to you all it's going to be difficult because this has probably been one of the busiest semesters of my time at TMCC, but it's all good. I did want to, first of all, officially welcome and congratulate Tiffany and Todd for being part of the TMCC IAC. I think your experiences are just going to be incredible. I'm really happy, too, that we've got a Washoe County School District person who's not new to Washoe County School District. I think that helps a lot. I will tell you and also offer kudos for Deborah Beiersdorf, who sat in this role for several years. And it was just great to have that consistent person, and she did an amazing job. And I suspect you will also be just as amazing as Deborah. So thank you, Tiffany. And of course, thank you, Todd. I'll talk a little bit about the lithium loop and the lithium economy, of which Panasonic is not just plays an integral role in Northern Nevada, but in the United States and the world. So again, I'm just very grateful for both of you. And congratulations to the rest of the team here for having 2 new members with another exciting member hopefully on the way.
Yes.
And you just wait for it. A surprise. Okay. So
Hold on.
Yeah. So I will start with lots of updates related to the Nevada system of higher ed and some of the things on the agendas in the next 2 meetings, okay? The first thing I want to say is that I think many of us as presidents were very saddened about the news of Regent Lois Tarkanian's passing. She really was a lovely woman, and I will tell you that when I met with Regent Tarkanian in Zoom typically, she was really an excellent regent, always a good listener. She did her homework, and she was 100% supportive of TMCC and, of course, my role as the president of this great college. And so we were very sad about that. It does leave a little bit of unknowns because we're getting several new regents, and now her position will need to be also temporarily filled, and it's been too soon to figure out who that will be. But again, a loss of a really great regent who is serving as a regent, and so there's just a little bit of uncertainty there, but my heart goes out to Regent Tarkanian's family as well. Okay, as for the December meeting, I was in Vegas the last couple of days and talking with regents, and so I'm kind of repeating the agenda items for you today. These are things that are coming up in December and in March and potentially at a special meeting in January, and it's all really good news. I think the first thing that I want to report is that the negotiations with the University of Nevada, Reno related to the Redfield campus location that is shared between UNR and TMCC are coming to a conclusion, and I'm very thankful to our new Associate VP, Io Akinola. I'm also thankful to a VP of Government and Finance, Mike Pearl, where'd he go? Jeff Alexander, who couldn't be here today, but who was part of these discussions, and Dean Julie Ellsworth, who doesn't have to be here today, but she was also part of these discussions. And what we agreed in the summertime when we realized that there was some resistance to our request for a fire training and rescue facility with another building that would also be additional classrooms for that growing program. There was some resistance, and the resistance was, in retrospect, very healthy, because the outcome is we agreed to do an abbreviated master plan for that location. Ken Cole did a wonderful job getting us all together, and Ken Cole is the lead of the Redfield Foundation. And Van Wert Bugatti were retained to do an abbreviated master plan for that property. And there's still one more meeting left where they'll wrap things up, and I'm happy to report that at this point, the Fire Training and Rescue Center, which we are no longer calling the fire tower because there's not physical fire coming out of it, okay, and is part of those plans. And I think the plan kind of looks out 20 years ahead. It includes a couple of new facilities for the University of Nevada, Reno, the fire expansion training facility, and classrooms for emergency medical and management personnel. in that same area. And the thing that I think Ken Cole is really excited about, looking way out in the future, is a shared facility where UNR and TMCC do some good co-work together. And so stay tuned, but President Sandoval and Ken Cole and I met over Zoom while I was in Vegas a couple of days ago, and I think we've all said, hey, our teams did really good work. At this point, it looks like we have tentative approval, but the official approval will probably be in the next couple of weeks. Okay, but I'm very excited about that project moving forward. We do intend to reach out to a couple of the neighborhood organizations that are nearby just to make sure that they understand that the fire training and rescue facility is not going to have fire spewing out of it every week, that in fact it's propane-based. It will release steam. That portion of the training only happens once a semester. The tower itself is used for all kinds of training for firefighters, including, race up 3 flights of stairs with your equipment on your back and get a person down the stairs, right? So there's all kinds of training that we really need to get done in order to protect this region in a better way from firefighters and also emergencies. So good news on that front. And it will go to the Budget and Finance Committee in December as an informational item. And I think, oh wait, that's the theater. I mixed up. That will hopefully get to the board in January or March. The most exciting project is the theater project, because that will go to the board in December at the Budget and Finance Committee for an informational item. And we're so excited. This has been in the works for literally years. I got here about 9 years ago. We got the campus consensus about 7.5 years ago. Van Wert and Bugatti did beautiful plans for Eastview. It doesn't look good for any state funding for that project. Believe me, I've tried. Mindy has tried. We've all tried, right? And to garner state funding for that facility. TMCC has not received state funds for a new facility since 1996. Sadly, that doesn't appear to be changing anytime soon, which is pretty sad and very unusual. I've been in other states where it just wasn't that hard to get state funding for necessary facilities. That said, we were permitted by Business Center North to take the Eastview project, change the scope of it, divide it in half. So this project is phase 1 of Eastview. It includes the thing that started the quest for Eastview, which is a college theater. We have a theater program and 2 excellent new theater faculty who have theater technical backgrounds, and the goal is to have certificates in theater tech housed out of that building, in addition to our wonderful performing arts stuff. And that includes dance, and our dance program's starting to be really great. And our plays are really good. The one that's playing now is a little bit risque, so hold on to your profanity hats, because there is some, but I've heard it's a wonderful production, and I hope to see it in the next couple of weeks. Anyway, so the theater project, as a result, and I'll just try to make a very, very long story short, is going to come in at $15.8 million. Part of that increase in cost is because I asked Van Wert and Bugatti to pivot when we learned from the architecture accreditors, because we're seeking accreditation for our bachelor's degree in architecture, that our major deficit was space, that we needed better space and dedicated space for architecture. So I asked at the last minute how much would it cost more if we add 3 classrooms for a temporary space for architecture. They went back to the drawing board very quickly, and it's all coming in at $15.8 million. And the best news is we have that money in the bank. So we will be requesting the board probably in January, no later than March, for permission to move forward quickly. The reason this project is doable is thanks to another architect, Jim Mickey. He pointed out that, you could probably save 30 to 40% of the cost if you do most of this in prefabricated parts, and that's what we're doing. And so I'm just very grateful to our architectural community and to Core Construction. They were awarded the CMAR bid, and Business Center North allowed them to retain that privilege to help us, because it's Eastview, but it's phase 1. So we are ready to roll on our theater. It'll have about 250 seats, which is what the theater folks want. They don't want a huge theater because it really is for a college level theater performing arts, as well as theater technical degrees. And so stay tuned. We're super excited. I'm really so grateful that we were able to, I've been squirreling away money with my team for years because we knew that if ECU was ever funded by the state, we're going to need to come up with a match, right? And so, and Mike Pearl and his team looked into some other buckets of money that we had set aside for, it's beyond contingency. It was more about COLAs and during the coming out of the pandemic, and so we've got some funds that we can access for that as well. So yay!
Congratulations.
Happy stuff, happy stuff. The other thing that we're bringing to the board is a request for a $3 per credit increase in athletic fees. Now remember, most of our students are not full-time, so that's an average of about $27 per semester per student. Very grateful to Lisha and her SGA team. They did their due diligence. They conducted a survey to see what their constituents thought, and then they came out with an SGA resolution supporting that fee, and they want to see volleyball, which is very exciting. Part of that fee will also need to go to inflationary costs related to our men's and women's soccer travel. And so, but it's looking good, and I'm very grateful to Lisha and SGA for supporting our athletics program, which is a really wonderful program, and lots of good things are happening in that regard. Okay, so let me see if I get through the list. Okay, so excited to report the GoEd money that was recently approved, and that is for our lithium loop work with Tesla, Panasonic, and also Hamilton Manufacturing. That was $1 million. Boy, this is a hard number. It's $1 million and some change. So 1 million, well, it's got 29,884. I always have trouble reading numbers with the zero in the middle there, you know? Anyway, so we're really happy about that. And of course, I must thank our new Associate VP, Gretchen Sawyer, for all her work on grants, and she shepherds a lot of cats and just doing remarkable job. And thank you to our, there she is, our amazing VP, Estella, who I was in Washington, D.C., and she attended the GoEd meeting for me and was able to field some questions and really speak out for our students. Because ultimately, at the end of the day, these are the kind of grants that give students the jobs that they need. And at the same time, it fuels the Northern Nevada economic engine. So thank you. As you can tell, there's a theme here. I want to make sure that my team knows how amazing they are, because this work would not happen without them, for sure. Okay, I was in Washington, D.C. during that GoEd meeting. I got an invite about a week before from Dr. Jill Biden. And it was really I thought, do I go, do I not go, you know, because it was past the election. So it's like, oh, they're not going to be in much longer. Do I do this? But I'm so glad I did, and I'll tell you why. Dr. Biden invited about 200 people to attend an event at the White House. And President Biden spoke. Dr. Jill Biden did most of the speaking, and she was amazing. And she really was celebrating the work of community colleges. And she was really celebrating the work that needed to continue to happen for community colleges. And one of the things that she said, and she was very dynamic, which was wonderful, she said, community colleges are no longer the best kept secret. Community colleges are the best kept promise. I thought that was so great. There was a lot of good energy in the room, and I think the work will continue. And then we were bussed out of the White House to a day-long conference that the Department of Ed put together, and they had really high-level cabinet people and some industry bigwigs, and it was a really good day for me. I learned a lot. And I was actually, I'm relatively pleased with the Department of Education pick that Trump will install in a few months. One of the things about Linda McMahon, and I don't know much about her, but I think she's a decent pick, is that she is one of the strong supporters for Pell monies to be used for short-term workforce training programs. which is something we've been asking for a few years now. And it would be so wonderful if the Department of Ed is not eliminated, but instead, and which Congress has to do, by the way, so it's not, it's not an easy feat to eliminate that particular agency. But hopefully instead, what will happen is she will make that one of her emphasis and prevail, because that would be really great for community college students. So keep that tagline in mind, regardless of your political affiliations or stance. I'm nonpartisan, so I'm just taking it a day at a time. You know what I'm saying? But I did love that tagline, that community college, the best kept promise. The other thing, some of you may or may not have missed the opening of our beautiful Veterans Resource Center, thanks to the Nevada Military Support Alliance. It turned out so great. Thanks again to Io and his team. Beautiful remodel. We got a lot of bang for our buck. We really did. So we're very grateful and so happy to support our veterans in all kinds of wonderful ways. And two last things. Please don't forget to get the delicious yummy treats from our cafe, which we run by ourselves thanks to Io and his team. It's taken years to get it to this level, but it's going really well, which is great. And of course, happy Thanksgiving to all of you. I don't know about you, but it's been busy, so I'm looking forward to a little bit of rest and a lot of turkey. Thank you.
Thank you. I'd like to just give a little round of applause to all of. Also, I heard a lot of great things, but I also heard a lot of great things about the team engagement, the high level that they're reaching in leadership, and the important work they're doing. So please, let's give them a round of applause with, of course, our great president, Dr. And the one thing, thank you for that great, exciting, usually it's not quite so exciting, so I'm very excited to hear about the Redfield campus and some of the things that are going to be happening finally out there. But there's one thing I want you all to remember, because the reason that you're here as an IAC member is to promote this college and the needs of this college. And it broke my heart just now, and I should know this because I've been around so long and involved in the college for so long, but to hear that we have had no state fundings for buildings since 1996 is deplorable. That is criminal. If you take a look in other institutions that are getting tons of money. So, my request to all of you is that you reach out to the people that represent you in the state of Nevada and make sure that they hear that you are not happy about that, and that having a theater at this college is not just for the college. Economic development of our community depends on arts and culture. If you don't have arts and culture, you don't have a community. You don't have the soul of diversity, inclusiveness, bringing people together, bringing differences together, building a foundation on something positive and creative. So I encourage you to, next time you have the opportunity to speak to the representatives that represent us in the state of Nevada and in Washington, D.C., that they should be ashamed. This is not acceptable. This is a beautiful college. We serve so many students, and our arts and liberal arts kids and students are going into businesses, and I can tell you from a business, I love the creative arts because I want people can think differently, be creative, can figure out how to make things happen, and they don't get that by going to a math class. Nothing against math. I'm in banking. Of course, we love math, but they need the arts help them think about math differently. So please, there's two things I got out of this. We're the best kept promise, and we're promising our kids a full education. And arts and culture, the liberal arts, is part of that full education. So please, please, I'm really upset about this. I'm making some calls when I get back.
Okay, can I add to that? real
Sure.
quick? So there is an opportunity along with that, and that is that and I was going to save this till February, and I will, but I'll note it here, that the number 2 projects that the Regents voted for to be promoted to the legislator, and it is a shared building with Nevada State University and DRI, located at this campus, well, DRI line, but next door to Vista, so it'll feel like it's on this campus as much as it is DRI. And what we would like to do with our portion of that shared facility is architecture, that would be the place where we would make a permanent home for architecture and possibly some other labs as well for engineering and physics, which all kind of dovetails with architecture. And so while you say, you know, TMCC has not had a state-funded facility since 1996, now there's an opportunity for you to approve of, we're asking for $5 million for planning money for this biennium, with the idea that then in the next biennium, they actually fund the building. But now there's an opportunity to fund a shared building with 3 NSHE partners, which is really cool. And Nevada State University is interested in doing more 2+2s, 3+1s, particularly around teacher education, which would be really great for Northern Nevada. So keep that in mind. I forget the name of the building right now, but it'll come to me, and we'll do a more thorough presentation for you on it in February. So thank you.
We have been trying to get a shared building in that space for I don't know how many years.
know.
When I was at the college, and that
Oh,
was
20
way
years.
too long ago.
20 years.
So that's great news.
Yeah.
So, okay, I've stepped ahead of myself here. Whoops. Okay, thank you so much for that update. It's very exciting, and congratulations on being asked to go to the White House.
Thank you, it was fun.
How
Super
wonderful
fun.
to be able to sit down with the President and First Lady of the country in an intimate setting like that and talk about the things you love. So next on our agenda is to hear from other partners in our college, and the first one is the Assistant Vice Chancellor for Workforce Development and Community College, Dr. Natalie Brown. Is Dr. Brown here? No, she is not here. Okay, well, we'll get her update next time. Our Faculty Senate, Dr. Ginger Doe. Is that right? Well, this is moving rather rapidly. Okay, these guys are going to have to work really twice as hard next time. I'm not kidding you. Okay, Classified Council. I know you're here, right? Yes. All right, there you are. They never let me down. All right, let's hear it.
So thank you. My name's Archites Aldecoa Otolora, for the record, NCC Classified Council representative for TMCC. Classified Council has been very busy here at TMCC. Last month, we wrapped up our Halloween decorating contest with a lot of really cool entrants. So we awarded a pizza party to our Technical Sciences Division, who incorporated TMCC's theme in their different curriculums that they offer within their site. And then we also awarded our Student Life Office with a sandwich platter. Next month, we'll be hosting the Christmas party, where we'll be raffling turkeys and hams, and that money we use towards professional development within Classified Council and to help us with our symposium that we do in July for Classified Council staff. And then on the NSHE side, we are having our first meeting with the Chancellor on December 20th, where all NSHE classified representatives will have our first meeting introducing the new board to our Chancellor, and she gets to hear what is happening within the different Classified Council entities of NSHE and how we can all work together to promote classified staff within NSHE. And that concludes my report.
Any questions? You're the backbone. The Classified Council does a lot of work and lots of fun things for the students and for the team members. And, you know, you're really the backbone of what goes on in this college, keeping it running. So thank you for all your work. Now we have always the fun part, if they're here. There she is. Okay. So we have our Student Government Association, and we're all here for the students. So let's hear from Leisha Allison about what's going on in student government.
Thank you so much. I guess I'll start off with something that Dr. Hilgerson said about us being in support of the athletics fee increase. It's so exciting that we'll actually be going to the Board of Regents and be presenting something that involves something very important to our community college, being able to foster community, to promote inclusivity, and to hopefully bring in more students. And I'm really excited because actually this is like the biggest group we'll be bringing to the Board of Regents, a senator, vice president, and me included, so I'm extra excited for that. But actually throughout this entire week, we've been doing an event called Gobble and Go Hunt. So one of my senators, Senator Cachucha, has made multiple riddles for multiple departments for students to go and figure out. And if they get their riddles right, we give them raffle tickets for an opportunity for them to win a Thanksgiving dinner. Yeah, so, and then during finals week, we are also planning on giving out free school supplies and a bunch of free healthy snacks for students during the most stressful time of the semester. But I think that concludes my update.
Thank you. Am I on or off? I can't tell. Leisha, tell me, what are you studying at TMCC?
I am currently studying or majoring in the Bachelor's of Architecture right now.
Oh, great. You'll love that new building when we get it built, huh? Yeah.
Yes.
Call your representative. There you go. Well, thank you so much. Thank you for the work and your leadership, and good luck on your presentation.
Thank you so much.
All right. Our next presentation is going to be on the legislative activities and some of the things that have happened in the political arena and how some of these bills are going to impact TMCC and higher education. And Mike, where are you? You're behind me.
Go up front.
Okay, Mike Pearl is.
I'll do the introductions too.
Pearl.
Okay. Mike is going to introduce our speakers. We have Mindy Elliott on the big screen.
So I brought the whole team in today. I'm Mike Pearl for the record. I'm the Vice President for Finance, Government Relations, and IT. Today we have Mindy Elliott in Germany. Thank you, Mindy, for joining us. And we have Nick Vanderpool. These two make up our great, amazing team that helps us with all of our lobbying and advocacy efforts at the state level. So today, I know that you asked for them. I'm going to give a quick overview and then open it up for a few questions. So our journey towards this legislative cycle began last January. So we've been working diligently. And to Dr. Helgerson's point, this is a team effort. This included all of the leadership team, as well as all of the individuals that work for us inside of their teams. Not only that, but it included every institution in NSHE working together to prepare for this legislative cycle. In front of you, you'll see a little handout. We just created this bifold, and we're pretty proud of it. And this shows a quick snapshot of the college. It gives why TMCC is so valuable to our community. And then if you open it up, it's going to talk about all of our legislative priorities going into session. Again, we started this last January with the budget build for the biennium. The great thing about my position at TMCC is not only do I get to handle all of the money, but I also get to do all the government affairs. And those two things are very much connected as we go into the legislative cycle, because most of it deals with money, although there are policies in place, but most of those policies also include money associated with them. So it started last January, and I'd like to talk about this just a little to give you the idea about how much work this went into the budget development and these priorities that we as a system, we as TMCC have agreed to moving forward. So we started with the Chancellor in January about TMCC and what our goals would be for the next biennium. Then all of my counterparts from across the system, who are all CFOs at every single institution, from UNR, UNLV, GBC, all WNC, we came together and we started to build the budget for this biennium. not only for our individual institutions, but for the system as a whole. Simultaneous to that, we began the capital improvement project prioritization, which then went to the State Public Works Board, of which, when we first started, our project that President Helgerson talked about ranked number 2, which we're very proud of for planning dollars. Fast forward all the way through until August, we finalized the budgets. We finalized what you see here, and I'm going to go over it a little bit today. And we presented that, our CFO, Chris Fatone, who's the system CFO, presented that as well as the Chancellor to the Board of Regents. And the Board of Regents approved that budget. And we'll talk about what that means. In addition to that, they approved our capital improvement project list that went to the State Public Works Board that will be incorporated into the overall all-agency Nevada request. So we'll see once that publishes where we fit into that. Going to talk a little bit about the budget, and this, if you look at page in the middle of the bifold, you'll see the TMCC agency budget request priorities. These are our priorities when we go into the legislative cycle that deal with money. Now you're going to see as the cycle begins, there's going to be a lot of legislation through the BDR process, the bill draft review process. Well, there'll be individual bills that could potentially impact higher education. We'll also be tracking those. There's about 4 of them out there right now that I'm looking for tracking. But the first and foremost is that a year ago, in the last, well, almost 2 years ago, in the last session, we wanted to look at our funding formula, which is the distribution of the dollars inside of NSHE. And so we spent the last year with the ad hoc funding formula committee redesigning the distribution of our dollars. And so our number 1 priority as a system and for TMCC is to fund the new funding formula distribution model and our agency request. That agency request, if you think about it, includes a 23% COLA increase rolled into the base budget. It's a lot of money. It's going from about $650 million to about $850 million. That is a big, big ask. And that's statewide though. That number I gave you is just for NSHE. It does not include all of the other agencies. And what we did with the funding formula is when we ran all of the institutions through the new funding model and distribution, we realized that there was a redistribution of dollars from Tier 1, R1 universities to community colleges. And so the Chancellor did a great job. She said, that's not your charge to figure out, just figure out the formula. Then we brought it to the Board of Regents and we said, in order for us to implement this new funding formula, we're going to have to ask for $21 million on top of the $850 million each year of the biennium to make sure that we fund both R1 universities and the additional amount that we're going to receive for TMCC. So that is our number 1 priority. I would say that's a co-priority, and I want to stay on message with the system office because we have 2 number 1 priorities. One is that formula and our agency request across the system. It's a big amount. Number 2 is our safety enhancements for about $38 million across the system. After the tragic event at UNLV, we came together, and I sit on that committee also, which is the safety committee. And we're looking at solutions around physical security, policy, and training, and the dollars associated that we need to make our campuses safe. So that is our co-main priority, is to get that those enhancements. In addition to that, this is unusual because last session, our COLA was approved at 65% total of the 100%. It's unusual because the state usually normally has it at 80%. We're pushing to say that 23% that you approved last session, which to us, that's $7.2 million. We need that funded at 80%, not 65% across the system. So you'll see that as item number 3. And item number 4, which is truly amazing to watch what this college has done over the last few years post-COVID. We have completely recovered in enrollment and weighted student credit complete. That means number of students that come here and complete their coursework. Pre-COVID, we were at about 227,000. During COVID, we dropped all the way to 204,000. That cost us about $3.2 million per year in this legislative cycle. In the next cycle, we jumped all the way back up to 235,000 weighted student credit, completely one of our highest ever. That equates to $6.4 million per year added to our budget. Now, within the caseload growth, we split it into two. That's why this is on here. One is pretty much guaranteed, which is about 5.4 million, but we added an inflationary caseload growth, which has never been done before. So that could be in jeopardy. We'll see what happens in the legislative cycle. So that's the budget in a wrap up. Then we also came out as a system, the business officers, through the presidents, through the institutions, and we said, what else do we need? And these are called enhancements. And we're going to take these forward and ask for them. We spent almost 3 months refining this as a system, putting our information in. And these top 7 here are the system-wide, where we, all institutions inside of NSHE, agreed that these are system-wide enhancements that we all agree upon. And those are the priorities there. And you can see from safety to inflationary adjustments with utilities, to the continuation of the phenomenal nursing expansion. We received about $1 million this fiscal year, and it has been very helpful in accelerating our ability to grow our nursing program. We had our unmandated fee waiver support. So just to let you know a little bit about this one, because this one is extremely important. And I've been working with Assemblywoman Nathan Anderson, and she has a BDR already out there to talk about the guard tuition waiver, which I've used. It's an amazing program, as well as many of our other Native American fee waiver. We quadrupled the number of Native American revenue coming into our state this year from 24 to 23. Average was about 40,000. This last year we were at 180,000 that we waived for our Native American students. Amazing program, but these are unfunded programs. No money associated with them, other than the Native American fee waiver, which they only gave about 33%. So we had to go back and get more money. So we're working diligently to get the state to put the dollars to those fee waivers for the institutions. Otherwise, it comes out of our revenue. The WIN funding renewal, you've heard that. We have this on this because we really want to continue to encourage the legislators to put money into the governor's office for these initiatives. If they continue to fund that, this one will come off. We also have a couple of other unique ones across the institutions. There's a lot of food insecurity and housing insecurity across our communities, and we want to be able to address that. And we have many ways with VP Estella's team to help with food and housing insecurity. So we're asking money there. And another one that we noticed is that there's always need for resources when it comes to mental health resources and increased funding. And that program really will pay for training for our students and faculty, as well as additional resources for counseling efforts throughout the session. When you come into the next cycle, the TMCC specific, this is what TMCC would like outside of what the system has said we want. We're looking at high-tech classroom upgrades. We really want to do a lot of marketing and enhanced marketing for our Career and Technical Institute. This third one's kind of a dream. I put it on there, but we rely heavily on part-time faculty, and we want to pay them appropriately, and so we're asking for that money to do that. And then there's another one, number 4, that it was VP Estella's idea and her team, is to say, how can we create a program, because we are an open access college, for our students that have autism spectrum disorder. There's a lot of challenges when they go from Washoe County School District into higher education. And how can we, for the families and those students, integrate them better into a college campus? And I think it's a wonderful idea. Those are the legislative priorities. We'll see what happens, and I'll talk a little bit more about that after I talk about the capital. So we were very successful, I think, through the leadership of President Hilgerson, through Dr. Io also. Thank you so much. This has been a long process to go through State Public Works and to get our project at number 2. It got bumped down to number 3 because they added another system-wide priority on top of it, but it's still number 2. when it comes down to it. So we're really proud about that. So we have 4 items on there this year. First and foremost, which is our head check money. It's higher education money that comes to do deferred maintenance for our organization. We get that from the legislators every cycle. It's paid through the slot tax. We generally get about 15 million, of which our cut's about $800,000 a biennium. Our deferred maintenance bill would be about $6 million per year. So it doesn't go far. We also have the Science Commons and Research Center, which is our joint building that we talked about. 5.2 million for planning. The Eastview project, that was the old Eastview original project. That came out as number 9. That's going to fall off most likely in the next session. And then we had 2 deferred maintenance projects that we agreed upon as a system, which is number 4 on ours, but it came out number 12 on the entry priority list. That's $32 million, and of that we would receive about 3.1, and that is to fix this building and the wrap around this building that's failing right now. And the last one is in the last session, on top of the 15 million that they gave us for deferred maintenance, they said we're going to give you another 50 million across the system, and we received 2.7 million. So deferred maintenance wise, when we take the 2.7 and the 800,000, that was about a third, I'd say a quarter of what we actually needed. But it was still great, so we're asking for it again. Just a few notes before I turn it over to Nick and Mindy for any comments is we had the November Economic Forum, which was just kind of a preview, November 7th, if you watched that one. They gave a really great estimate of Nevada's revenue and the total economy of the nation and Nevada. The next one's on December 2nd. That one's going to present between multiple agencies, between Bloomberg, between LCB, between GFO. That's going to inform the governor's budget. That's going to be his dollar amount that he is stuck with on December 2nd. And then in May, they'll do the next economic forum, and that dollar amount is what the legislators will be stuck with. We don't see, and I'll let Nick talk more about this, we don't see a big change between the two. So pending questions, I'm going to turn over to Nick and Mindy for any comments. And we can do questions at the end.
Yeah, thanks, Mike. Again, Nick Vanderpool, Flint Judici Government Affairs. Very fortunate to represent Truckee Meadows Community College. It's been great working with Mike, Dr. Hilgerson, as well as Kylie Rowe. Mike handles the state and federal. We determined Kylie's going to handle the local level, and she's been great to work with and with her relationship.
And talk about her baby Ava, who was just born.
And yes, Kylie's not here. Ava just born. So congrats to Kylie and the family. Just from a legislative standpoint, what happened was in the Senate, basically we had an open seat in Senate District 15, which was Heidi Severs-O'Gara. She decided not to run again. Dr. Angie Taylor, who many of you know, a former Assemblywoman, she decided to run. She was successful in winning Senate District 15 in Northern Nevada. I know she has ties to TMCC, so having that relationship is strong. As it relates to Assembly District 27, that was Angie's seat. That was won by Heather Golding, which Assembly District 27, TMCC sits in that district. Heather is going to be coming in December to take a tour. She's familiar with campus, but she's very open to learning about the programs up here. And I've had a really in-depth conversation with her. I like her approach. I don't know what I don't know, but I'm happy to learn. So I'm very excited about that. And then the district next to it, Assembly District 24, that was Sarah Peters, who decided not to run again. Erica Roth, who's in the public defender's office, she was successful in winning that seat. She's scheduled to come here in December, I would say. And then in so the makeup in the Senate is 13-8. There is not a supermajority in the Senate, so it just from a tax standpoint and the governor's veto, no pathway there. And then going over the Assembly, the Republicans were able to pick up Assembly District 35 in Southern Nevada, which was open seat. That seat was won by Dr. Rebecca Edgeworth. She works for Toro University with a healthcare background. And fortunate enough, while she was on the campaign trail, she did come to Northern Nevada, and I arranged a tour. Which one?
We went to Redfield, and she's an MD.
Yeah.
She's an MD,
So
so she'll be the second MD in the assembly, which is great.
Correct. So she was able to take a tour of Redfield, saw that side of it, which was good for her to see. And then there was another seat vacated by Scott Hammond, Senate District 18. That was picked up by John Steinbeck. He is the Clark County Fire Chief. And he's another individual. He was in Northern Nevada, and we were able to give him a tour while on the campaign trail of the EMS fire, kind of bring him up to date on the EMS program as well as the fire program that's out in the Redfield campus. So lots of tours on the horizon. We just had the new Spark City manager come and take a tour along with the city of Dion, and then Wes Duncan, who's the city attorney. They came up here into campus recently and got a tour kind of with the Spark City manager. You know, he was still drinking water from a fire hose, but it was like, welcome to Northern Nevada. You should know what TMC is producing, and he was really impressed by all the programs. So it's kind of taking that educational standpoint, and as the legislators come through, especially those from the South, bringing them to the campus and showing the programs. Any way you want to look at it, the Nevada legislature, 25% of them are going to be freshmen. So there's a huge learning curve, and so makes our job a little harder, but also when you have great programs that are offered at TMCC, it shows a very it's the success stories along with it, along with the workforce development and what comes out of it. But that's kind of, and I'll piggyback off of what Mike said, Economic Forum. Governor instructed his agencies to do a baseline budget just on the amount that we don't know how much extra revenue is going to be out there. It's just, I'd just say it's kind of, I think we're kind of in a holding pattern as it relates to the election. And now that things have kind of shuffled at the federal level, we kind of have to see how that will impact. I know we have Formula One coming up. That was sitting kind of behind, but now I just saw an update. Tickets are selling out, hotel rooms are filling up. So I know when the initial Formula One took place in Vegas last year, they said they've never seen $1 million chips, so many of them just floating around various casinos. So big money comes in, but that's only a 1 week, 4-day event. It's not, and we're missing out on the Super Bowl this year. So hopefully there's some additional revenue, but not looking like it's gonna be a lot. However, anything's possible. I'll say from a standpoint, the relationship with Congressman Amadei's office, with Congressman Amadei sitting as a cardinal on as subcommittee on Ways and Means. We've been in communications with his staff frequently, talking about the opportunities of what might be able to come from a federal level. So a lot of opportunities. We're really excited about next legislative session and happy to take any questions.
And I'll let Mindy.
And Mindy might have something else she wants to add.
Hi, good evening, everyone. I think that Mike and Nick have done a great job. I want everyone to understand that we've been meeting with Mike every month as we create the advocacy discussion for the campus and how it's going to move forward. In that coordination, Nick's done as we've been meeting with legislators, we're talking about Truckee Meadows. The trifold is going to be very helpful to us as we meet with them now and as we continue to talk about the mission of the campus when we're in the building. I think Nick alluded there's going to be 25% brand new legislators, and frankly, a lot of them have never been in Northern Nevada. So it's really up to us to have that one-on-one discussion with them about all of the great things that the campus is doing and why it's so important that the state invests in the campus, especially as our economic diversity continues throughout Northern Nevada. So for us, it really is a strong message. And President Hilgerson and the team helping us get through this next legislative, and all of you as we determine what the opportunities might be, it's going to be important. So for us, it really is a privilege to be part of the government affairs and advocacy team.
Thanks, Mindy. Anything else, Mindy?
Pardon me?
Anything else?
Nope.
Thank you.
Listen, I'm open for questions.
Yeah, I want to just highlight a couple more things because there's a lot I'm very excited about, not only the budget, where we're going in the session, but one of the things we've agreed to this year is all of my counterparts on the government affairs side from NSHE are meeting in the second week of December with the Chancellor to lay out how we're going to go through this session and make sure that we are completely 100% synchronized in going into this session. 2-day event we're doing in Vegas. The budget bill, just to give you an idea, from the January all the way through to August, our core basic budget, which Mindy and Nick mentioned from the governor's office, as it relates to TMCC, we took our FY25 budget, which is about $35.5 million from the state. Then we added the COLA, which was another $7.2 million. Then we added the caseload growth, which was $6.4 million per year. Then we went in and we added and ran it through the formula, which gave us another $2.4 million. Then we calculated all the revenue that we were going to bring in from our registration fees. We went from $55 million to $70 million. That's a big jump. That's how growth works. Now, most of that's tied to the payroll with COLA, but still, we have done an amazing job here at TMCC when it comes to growing. On the federal level, I did want to mention, even though we were talking about the state, we have great support from our legislators, from our 2 senators, and from Congressman Amadei. I talked to their staffs quarterly. We were successful in this fiscal year, even though the appropriations have not passed, in receiving a $2 million community-funded project from Senator Rosen. That's going to go straight into our workforce training and lithium and advanced manufacturing. So we do, and we have about 5 or 6 community-funded projects that we're looking to submit in this next open window. And then the other thing, just be aware, as we get into session, I will be doing a weekly update. So all the things we talked about today, we're going to be updating, saying this went through, this didn't go through, this is the impact on TMCC. So I'll open it up for questions now. Thank you.
Questions? Go ahead, Todd.
Where does TMCC fit in with the Tech Hub and NSF engines and those types of things?
Oh, boy.
Maybe that's a sensitive question, but
Wish Dr. Alexander was here.
I could speak to it a little bit. Is that okay?
of course.
You know, I think I can speak to the Tech Hub in that because the budgets were decreased, because the original ask was, I think, 75 million, and the state got 21 million, that really there's only 2 elements of the original requests that are funded. One was related to tribal nations, and Nancy can speak to this as well, and then the other was for workforce training and development. The problem is that the budget for that had already been significantly slashed by the planners of that grant. So TMCC's portion, I think it's a couple of million. So we're all, oddly enough, the 3 GBC, WNC, and TMCC are getting equal shares, and yet of those 3, we're probably the only ones with the capacity to do significant work. So it's just, I think to be publicly blunt, we were very disappointed in how the process morphed at the end of the process, and Jeff Alexander did do a lot of work trying to communicate what we needed, and unfortunately what we needed didn't, it just got sort of eliminated by the planners of that effort. So short answer to your question, we'll do our best with the very scarce amount of funding that we have received through that, but we will do our best, and we are part of it. my understanding is now, has it been moved to Nevada Works?
Milt's
So,
here for the
so Milt,
record,
please
so,
speak to
yeah.
your part, because that's the other
So,
thing I heard.
I echo kind of everything that's been
Yeah,
said here
yeah.
is a little bit disjointed.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
so one of the factors is that the Office of Workforce Innovation, Owen, is transitioning away from grant administration, and yet they were written in as the lead for the workforce development component of the Tech Hub grant. And so Nevada Works was asked to assume that responsibility, and really, that's where the devil's in the details right now, is what that looks like. So here's what I can say, and this is an update from UNR as of late last week. Because the grant was not fully funded, that they are working through budget adjustments and scope of work adjustments, because there were certain things that were put into the proposal that could happen if fully funded, but certainly can't happen or need to be scaled back due to the funding that actually exists. I would prefer that those conversations were more transparent than they currently are, but we have been told that to stay tuned. We have no idea what this modified budget looks like, because again, UNR is the lead recipient. And so that's the plan is for Nevada Works to assume that responsibility for the workforce development component, but we're still in conversation on specifically what that looks like.
Gotcha. So I meet with the UNR group with the NSF engines meetings, and I was just thinking, I don't know, is there somebody from TMCC in there?
My understanding on that grant is that it's more research-driven. Is that correct? Which it really means that it's not as appropriate for us because we don't do high-level research at TMCC. But that's just my last, and maybe Gretchen knows more?
That's correct, yeah. It was my understanding it moved from engineering to the College of Science, and the focus is research on engines.
Okay. Yeah, and they also echoed that comment about ideas and projects for construction. Don't even bring it forward because nobody's interested in helping fund construction.
So if I may, Milt Stewart, there is a workforce development component of the NSF engine, and Nevada Works is working directly with
Cheryl's on that.
correct, right? And so we're working with Erica and team around that. And from a workforce development perspective, we've been asked to be co-principal investigators around that, so we can bring forth me sitting here can help bring forth the TMCC Indoor Community College or local aspect of that.
Yeah, great, thank you.
Sure.
Any other questions?
Can I ask one? Sure. Yeah, and again, I probably need a basic history lesson, but my question just relates to the federal level. When we're looking at what's a slim majority in the House, Senate, how many votes are they taking, require a 51% vote versus a 63, so how does it look to those of you who are living and breathing the federal government?
It's kind of dead. Yeah. I mean, it's interesting. There's still a lot of moving parts as it relates to DC. It seems like it's more chaotic than Carson City. But it'll be interesting to see how this all plays out. Obviously, I think leaving the filibuster will still stay in place. And so you obviously, there'll have to be some compromise there. It'll be interesting if Speaker Johnson can still kind of keep his caucus in corral, I guess you could say. But I guess I'd say, speaking for, it's interesting because, we only have 6 members out of 535 members of Congress. But we're a small but mighty force. Yeah. And when it comes to Nevada, we work together, and you have individuals, I look at Congressman Amodei, Congresswoman Titus, and Congressman Horsford. They all served in the legislature together. So they, and Senator Cortez Masto was Attorney General. I mean, they have this Carson City connection, and it really makes it unique. And when you go back, I remember when I worked on the Hill, and I remember working with Senator Reed and Senator Ensign, we had the Welcome to Washington breakfast, and when it came to Nevada, the staff worked together, and they're all on the same page as it relates to what's best for Nevada and getting things done. So whatever's happening on the drama level in DC, I'd look at the Nevada delegation and what they're doing to bring what's best for Nevada, because we're growing. Any way you want to look at it, we're growing, and if there's resources to bring home, whether it's Northern Nevada, preferably Northern Nevada, but some in the South, we've definitely taken advantage of it. So
there's really good news on an article just came out yesterday. And I know that our senators and our delegation has been working on the landfills. There's 2 landfills, one in Northern Nevada, one in Southern Nevada. There's some very complicated issues with that, but I think they finally pushed through and to that entire organization that Nevada has a very large amount of federal property, and if we're going to continue to grow, we need to convert some of that property. And so that bill, there was an announcement yesterday, it made it out of committee with Congressman Amadeus. So,
Great.
Mindy, did you have anything to add to that? Oh, on a note too, we also have a federal lobbyist that represents the system back in DC. And I meet with them usually twice a month. And we talk about these types of issues at the federal level, what the House is going to look like, what the Senate's going to look like, what does that mean for higher education, how's that going to impact Pell, how's it going to impact our programs like TRIO, so everything. And they were just here. But there's a lot of things are up in the air. We'll see how this session goes right now, because most likely what's going to happen is they're going to pass another continuing resolution. And that's going to kick the curve. Now, whether that's January or March, we'll see. I think it's going to go kick that until March. That's just my opinion, but we'll see. Which means that's no new dollars, right? We can't spend any new dollars.
Yeah.
And that $2 million earmark that we have right now is tied to them passing the 12 appropriations and getting a bill. I do believe that we will get a bill through, and they will pass all 12 appropriations, because they don't want to deal with that. They want to move on to the next budget. So that's just my opinion. Mindy, you might have to see it differently.
No, Mike, I think that your observations are pretty accurate. It is a little chaotic back in DC, but I also want to recognize we are also working with the local jurisdictions, right? The city of Sparks, city of Reno. And as these lands bills, we're having these discussions, it's the local jurisdictions that are really driving a lot of this, the success that we're seeing in DC. And so as Truckee Meadows has really done a yeoman's job of reaching out to the community, reaching out to the leaders within the various jurisdictions, it's helping us as we go to Washington, D.C., or we're working with the other lobbyists for government affairs or advocate groups to be able to have that dialogue and to set the priorities and help them certainly justify some of the needs of the campus. And I hope that makes some sense, because it really is very valuable. So we're working really hard to make sure that whatever conversations we're having, it's not just about the campus, it's about the community, it's about the economic growth, it's about how the positive impact of everyone working together makes a lot of sense.
I'm going to add one thing. Every year I go with the Vegas Chamber and we do the DC fly-in. And this year Mike was able to go and participate in that. And there's individuals from every sector that goes to that. And I know it's Southern Nevada focused, but I thought there was an opportunity for Mike to meet many of his counterparts from Southern Nevada and tell the TMC story. And so you might want to just
Yeah, I mean, we had what,
300 people.
Over 300 people from the community. We had 20 plus legislators there. We had every one of our delegates at the federal level come to us in our building at our hotel. And from Senator Cortez Masto, all our representatives, the staff, chief of staffs,
Just an amazing opportunity to network. Nick was able to get me in front of and meet most of those legislators, so when we go into session, it won't be the first time. Like, yeah, I'm the crazy guy with the beard. And you remember me from DC, right? And remember what we talked about, right? So the key is that those legislators, when I talk to them, they're amazing. They listen, regardless of what side of the fence they're on. They're really here for Nevada. And when it comes to TMCC and the community college, they're willing to help and they want to listen to the issues. So I was really impressed and having that opportunity to go back there and meet everybody. So, any other questions?
Any questions?
Well, thank you, and we'll keep everyone updated as we move into the session.
Mindy, enjoy your vacation.
Yeah.
Thanks for being here. Bye.
No, thank you, I appreciate it. Nope.
Take care. Say hi to Chris.
Thank you, everyone, and okay, done.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you, Nick. Very much. Thank you for being here. Appreciate all the work, and Mike, all the work. I have the opportunity to go to Washington DC twice a year, and I use that opportunity. It really is an opportunity, and I meet with all of our representatives back there, and I go for Nevada bankers, but I also bring forward, we had a major discussion on the lands bill. We had a major discussion on some of the things going on in education. So anytime you have the opportunity to sit down in front of those folks, you need to have your talking points, and you need to be able to articulate the importance, not just focus on TMCC, but the holistic impact for this community. And it's great. We go, when I go back, there's just very few of us, so we get to meet with them intimately and sit down in the conference room for, when we sit down with Senator Meadows, she gives us a half an hour, and that's normal, and her chief of staff was out here, and we spent an hour and a half together. So, building those relationships, you are the voters, and you have a right to be heard, and I can't emphasize enough to take advantage of that, because it's so important, and they'll tell you when you're sitting there eye to eye, it makes big difference than having you write letters, because that is just not, doesn't work very well. But anyway, thank you very much. Great presentation. Thanks, and thanks for all your work. Thanks, Nick. Okay. The next item on the agenda is the IAC Council member takeaway. Would anyone like to share some of the things that they maybe got out of this session this morning?
For the record, Nancy McCormick, I just want to thank the team that has been putting in lots of time and lots of hours, the team that just presented in conjunction with the assistants, because this is a very helpful tool, I believe, to take all of the great work that you're doing and really distill it down into a document that's understandable by people that aren't in the government affairs world, that aren't, connected to the representatives at the United States level. So congratulations on this, making it easier for all of us to be able to speak to this, to share information, to ask questions and refer back to it. So just really great job.
This is a team effort. Kylie Rose, this was her idea. She said, hey, why don't we take all the ideas in your head and put them in something, and then we had some great teamwork from across the campus to put this together. So
great job and great leadership on your part.
Anyone else?
One thing I'm really encouraged by is that the leadership of the college and the student body are getting together to enhance the athletics and the arts, the theater program. I think that it really enhances the student experience. It enhances the tie to the community, and it's really encouraging to see that it's not just we're sitting here talking about how to just develop more workforce, develop more things, but these programs I think are very important.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Todd Thurston for the record. BJ, back to your comments earlier about the arts. Remember at our panel discussion, Discovery Education and Nevada Museum of Art, people are pouring in STEAM, getting the artists into the STEM program. So there's hope there that that's going to move forward. Also, great, Mike and team. That's very impressive, super impressive. Also mentioned, I talked to Lisa earlier. I was online the other night with the TMCC high school presentation, the TMCC principal, looking to convince my daughter to take advantage of that program.
People love that program.
It's the best.
It's so good.
So, you know, with Lisa's information and involvement and everything I'm hearing about it, I'm going to try and convince her to do that. So,
She will love it.
yeah.
Who's next? Who wants to share? Go ahead.
I'll go.
Yay.
Robert Chisel, you know, talking about the sports, I mean, that pitch has got to be the nicest pitch in the United States. It's beautiful. Whoever takes care of that lawn does a tremendous job. And, you know, in sports, you may think, well, it's not that important, but it does. It brings a connection for the students to the school, which builds a school, which builds that pride in the student. And I think it does. It's like the arts. It's a holistic approach, and I think it's good that we're doing that. I'm glad the legislative fast facts. I'd love to have a few more of these. You know, we're through with the election, for good or bad, whichever way you want to look at it. At least I don't get those robocalls anymore.
Oh, my God.
But, you know, we do have a citizen legislature. They are very approachable. You know, not just our U.S. senators. Some of us, you know, a lot of us have gone back to Washington in our careers, and they are always happy to meet with us. But the legislature here in Carson City is extremely approachable, and I think it's imperative that we all go to them. And when we have a chance, I know during the election, I met several legislators, and I made a point of talking about TMCC. Hopefully they will carry that. And if there is somebody that we need to call a committee chair, I mean, some of us may have a personal relationship with them, and I'm sure they're going to be vegans, but we could do that. And the staff here at TMCC is tremendous. I can't say enough. Every time I have an interaction with the staff, it's positive, it's great. And TMCC also held a Healthy Smiles event earlier this month. And I know that's just a small event, but there are tons of these little events that TMCC does to help the community. This was for people who couldn't afford dental care, and it was upstairs in the dental office, and it was a very successful event, helping provide dental care to those that could not afford dental care for their kids. And it was a wonderful event, and those are the kind of things TMCC does, not just for the students, but for the community, and we need to talk about those to our legislators and to our fellow Renoites. That's all.
Thank you. That was a great overview of the whole program. Thank you so much. Anybody else?
Edward Espano for the record. I echo what's been said about the arts and sports in general. I think the interesting part about what I've seen from the private sector, because I get students that come from the TMCC side or the two-year college side versus the four-year, is the biggest thing that I've seen is the two-year side. They oftentimes are always working and are in and out of this campus, and there's nothing that connects them. And that lack of connectivity, sometimes you could see it in even how they socialize within the work. And I think that's important. From the private sector side, I see that it's important because I think that's a missing component, because they're all about, technically, they're some of the best trained people, but socially, there's things that can be improved. And I see that, again, these are things that you can't, it's hard from a numbers standpoint to go, how does this do that? But the arts also, big for me. We're in the creative industry. We require people to be big thinkers, not formula thinkers. And so I think it's a big thing. And so when we think about the arts, though, and I've seen this enough, because I've worked and played in the arts as far as trying to get funding, and it's always treated as a afterthought. If we have more, if we have this, and you get crumbs. I think it's better if we try to approach this and say, what are the biggest needs from a workforce standpoint, and how do we weave in the arts within that. Because that's the only way you're gonna get funding if you want these buildings funded. I don't think it's gonna be, oh, it's a standalone building just for the arts. I don't think that's ever gonna see the light of day. I'm a realist, and that's the way I look at that. And finally, I think, you know, some of the things that's been said specifically around, you know, all this funding around that lithium loop.
The loopy thing.
What disappoints me the most is the lack of the private sector being involved in that, and I think that's what prevented us from getting more money. And I think in general, I think if we get more private sector involvement as a whole, that will allow us to get more money, because they need to step up, because again, if they want workforce, they need to understand it doesn't create itself and that they have to pitch in. We're not always asking for money. I think sometimes maybe that's the fear that some of them may have, that you're gonna come at them with your hand out, but I think a lot of it is just support and figuring out, well, even help us figure out what type of workforce you need, the type of training you need. So that's the other thing I see, is that if we can, you know, continue to work and bring in more partnerships through the private sector, that would be excellent in doing that. And I think it goes back to it. Nevada does work well together. I think it's obvious by, you know, Mike's team and everything else of what's going on with NCHE, that there is a will to work together, as opposed to, you know, to each their own, and we're gonna figure out whoever, you know, whoever's last standing gets the most money, and then whoever's not gets the crumbs. I think when we work together, I think we're gonna get these resources more, and I think that's the advantage that Nevada's gonna have over the other states, is I think we can, as a state, are still in that mode of, yeah, we don't, when it comes to Nevada, we protect Nevada collectively. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Marisa Brown, for the record. Oh, I'm sorry, was somebody else going to go? I just wanted to mention in the budget priorities, I'm so happy to see that there is still going to be a focus on continuing to expand nursing. I think when we looked at it in the middle of June, I think there was 2,000 nursing vacancies in the hospitals alone. And, you know, we have such a dire need. And I know staffing ratios is going to hit us again this session. So we're really nervous about that. So hopefully it'll all pan out. I mean, if we have staffing ratios, we will not be able to maintain that ratio with the gap that we have. So just happy to see that.
Thank you.
Tiffany McMaster, for the record. I just want to go back to Dr. Hillerson. Thank you so much for sharing the information about the vision for expansion at the Redfield campus. I believe it was during COVID when the Paradise fire hit. We had multiple agencies coming to us regarding needing desperate help with individuals for base camp and firefighters, and they initially came to us with ideas about internships for some of our older students to help at base camp in fighting some of these fires, and those conversations grew to a fire science academy, which is still in its infancy at the Academy of Arts, Careers, and Technology. So it's very exciting to hear about this, and I will be sure to bring that back to our district. The newly appointed principal, Principal Maddock, and our Director of Career and Technical Education, Josh Hartzog, I'll make sure that they're keeping themselves tight to that project so that we can partner in that. So very, very exciting news. So thank you for that. And then I also wanted to just comment on the legislative platform. First of all, this is so impressive. You know, as a school district, as we're working on our legislative platform, I know how much work goes into this. This is quite amazing, and thank you for that thorough overview, Mike, and your team. Greatly appreciate it. The one thing that just stood out to me the most was in our strategic plan, goal number 5 is about empowering students for their future. And when I look at that, it's not just students, but all students. And so to think about this under the lens of inclusivity and access and opportunity, I really love the focus on autism spectrum disorder services, and I would love to just kind of partner with you. So I'll be sharing that with our Associate Chief of Specialized Instruction so that she can just learn more about where you're headed with your legislative platform, because Really, when you think about what it means to have all students have opportunities, this is really at the heart of it, so thank you.
I just have to say, your teacher was on the news. They did a whole story on her, and I had tears in my eyes watching that. I watch it at 6 in the morning, so it was beautiful. I hope you can get that out. You want to just tell everybody a little bit about her, and that she works with the autistic kids and the kids that have challenges. Can't think of her name.
I don't know that I saw that exact story, but I mean, just in general, we have amazing educators that are dedicated to our students each and every day, and they do
We're going to have to look it up.
amazing
I haven't
work.
seen it yet either, so we'll have to look it up.
It was fabulous,
Okay.
but they were recruiting, looking for more people with that skill set, and it was just phenomenal, the work that this woman is doing with these kids and others like her. But it was really well done. It was on I think it's Fox 11 in the morning.
Right.
They do all local stuff, so it's really good. So
Thank
thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Who haven't we heard from? Heard from everybody? Okay. Do you have any comments?
No, other than thank you, everyone. It's just wonderful to have your expertise in the room. It's always a pleasure and a very insightful experience.
And I just have to, I want
And
to.
happy Thanksgiving again.
I want to echo again what Edward said, is the fact that people look at arts in this little pocket over here and sports in this little pocket over here. But really what we want to talk about the arts especially is not about arts as one thing. It has such a broad reach for the education of our children, and sports does the same thing. They learn teamwork. They learn creativity. They learn how to connect with people. They learn how to deal with disappointment and defeat and not being able to have a great day every day. So I just think when you are talking about these things, look at it from a perspective of how it impacts them in the workforce, them as part of leadership in the community, them as being good family members. I mean, there's so much to these. I mean, and I think sometimes we're put in little silos, and none of our children belong in a silo. So I hope that you got some things out of this that will help you talk about these issues in a different way, from a different perspective. New business opportunities. Are there other things for the agenda that you would like to see? Oh, I'm sorry, Nancy.
Oh, for new business.
Oh, for new business.
Yes,
All right.
thank you, Nancy McCormick, for the record. So just real quick, I wasn't sure exactly how to order these, but I would like to just have some consideration for conversation with regards to some really trends that are happening in the community. And one of the things that certainly is a concern, and I'll go ahead and start with this first, is training for the trades. So all of the growth across all of the different industries isn't able to happen unless people can build the facilities that are needed, nor are the things that are needed by the college and all public sector entities. They can't be built unless there are tradespeople here to build them. And with all the activity that's going on in the areas of things like the lithium loop, Lighton we just made a recent announcement about a big project that is in the battery tech arena that is going into the North Valleys. And also we have made a number of announcements about data centers. These data centers are very big, complex buildings to build. And when talking with their construction teams, team leads that are building some of these, one of the ones is Powerhouse, that basically invests in the buildings, and then there's a team that brings individual clients into those buildings to put their data equipment and so forth. But they're going to be here, this contractor is going to be doing that building for at least 2 to 5 years, because they start with one, and if you've seen the growth of the Apple data center, they start with 1, 2, 3 buildings, and then it's 4 and 5. As they fill them, they build another one, and another one. So electricians in particular are ones that we hear a fair amount about. So the need for just maybe some conversation about the trades and the cooperation with the school district and the pathways for people getting into the trades, I think is important, because it's sort of foundational to the other development that will take place. Speaking of data centers, certainly data center employees and managers that understand the advanced oversight of multiple servers and all of the functionality within that needs to be kept up to date, including the maintenance inside of all the systems, because you don't want to have the air conditioning go out in the summer and then have these pieces of equipment that are not real heat tolerant go down, which has a big impact. So the maintenance and support from a sort of industrial engineering and all of the types of trades that are within a facility are important as well. Of course, there's still the growth of the lithium and battery technology, which is really more of a chemical engineering than the manufacturing and mechanical engineering that's been going on. So another new area for students to have a career pathway. And I think, and then in the midst of all of that, there has to be teachers in order to teach all of this. So, it's a really, really good opportunity and also a challenge, but perhaps whichever of those makes sense to others to have included, perhaps one in future meetings and then another in a subsequent meeting. I think they're all really things that are happening from the economic development perspective that might be worth considering getting on the agenda.
Thank you. Those are great. Anyone else have ideas for the next meeting agenda? Well,
Sure, I have one new business item, because it got established or confirmed after we agendized, so I didn't put it on there, but our first president search meeting will be December 11th. So this is the Ad Hoc Chancellor's Committee. It's an advisory committee. It'll be run by Regent Del Carlo and Regent Joe Arcata. They're currently putting together that advisory committee, so community members have not been identified yet, so don't panic that no one's been reached out to. They're still working on that, but we do have an actual date and time of December 11th at 8:30 a.m. in this exact room. And the reason I tell everyone is because it is an open meeting, and so everyone can attend, not just the advisory committee. So if you want to come and participate in that meeting, I encourage you to do so. Our president has led us amazingly well, but unfortunately, she is moving on, and we want the community voice as we transition to a new president in July. Thank you.
So what time was that again, 8:30?
8:30 a.m., December 11th, right here. Same room.
I just wanted to say thank you to Melissa and Tim for coordinating this meeting, and Tim for the filming, and our delicious cafe. So please take stuff with you for lunch, okay? Those are the things I wanted to say. Thank you.
Jay, can I say something? Am I allowed to say anything? Of course.
Yeah, of course you're allowed.
Good morning, everyone. Estela Gutierrez. I just wanted to add, just because we're on the president, I just want to make sure that officially we are kicking off the celebration of Karen Hilgerson, and we've been celebrating her leadership here at TMCC. I really liked the thing that you brought back as far as the saying of the community college are the best promise. Definitely community college. I know that for a fact, and I'm very grateful that I found my purpose so early on, long time ago, 19 whatever it was, 80s, that, this was my bridge. It was a bridge for me. And it started at Modesto Junior College, where basically I struggled, and it kicked off my career to today. I've been here for almost 33 years. I've been through 9 presidents. That's a lot of presidents. And I have to tell you, everyone, each one has brought different perspectives. In the years I've been here, you know, I'm so proud that you've noticed all of the things that we're doing, because I think in this last decade, we've done a lot. And I think it has to do a lot with our leader, Karin Hilgerson. And I could just tell you firsthand, especially when it comes to diversity and equity and all of that stuff, and being the most vulnerable, it was through Karin that we met HSI, you know, Hispanic Serving Institution. I mean, I've been here for a long time. We had created the DISCO, which was the Diversity and International Center. I mean, what a concept. It was a little late, but it was Karin who pushed that concept. Also, when it came to, obviously, the soccer, I have this beautiful picture when we were cutting the ribbon. There's just so many great memories, but it was her effort, and she took the heat. And you know, she's such a transformative leader and courageous leader. And oftentimes she gets in trouble because you know, she tells the truth. And she's changing. She's a change agent. So it's important for me to say this, and I don't know if my colleagues want to say anything else, but I just want to thank you, Karin, for your leadership. So as I listen to all of you, it's because of our president. We have reached another height. And I love this campus. I love TMCC. And so thank you, Karin, for everything you've done. And we're going to continue to celebrate you all the way through, because you only have 2 of these meetings, and then your last board meeting will be in March. And so I think it's important that we do celebrate you.
Looking forward to that last board meeting.
So thank you so much.
But that's the last quarter. Oh,
Thank you.
thank you, Estella. Anyone else? Okay. There being none, and no one has any more ideas for the new business for the agenda?
I like what Nancy said, and in my mind, I almost feel that that's a gap analysis between the careers that we offer, not just for the future jobs, but for building the facilities required. So so a gap analysis, and that might be 2 meetings.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that's great. If you think of anything else, please let Melissa know, and she will get it out there. Okay, she does remind me.
Yeah.
Often.
Yeah.
Because I need reminding. Thank you. All right. Okay, before we adjourn, again, it's time for public comment. Public comments will be taken during this agenda item. No action may be taken on a matter raised under the item until the matter is included on an agenda as an item on which action may be taken. Comments will be limited to 2 minutes per person. Persons making comments will ask to begin by stating their name for the record and to spell their last name. The council chair may elect to allow additional public comment on a specific agenda item when the agenda item is being considered. Is there anyone here that would like to make a public comment? There being none, we'll close that part of the meeting. And now we don't have to have a motion for this meeting to adjourn. Okay, others have to. So I just want to say happy holidays, happy Thanksgiving. Enjoy this time with your friends and family. And thank you so much for all you do in our community and for all you do for TMCC and for being on the council. It's been an honor serving with you. So with that, we're adjourned.
Thank you.